Testing, testing, testing. Is this recording? Another shower thought. One more shower thought. I'm going to call this one, Do You Boo? Something that I absolutely hated hearing when my first husband would try to trigger me, if you will, before I even knew there was a word called trigger. He would say, do you. And sometimes he would say, do you, boo? And he knew that was almost as bad as calling me the B word, right? For whatever reason, I never tried to understand why that word triggered me so much. But now I do, and here's why. I'm going to be endorsing childhood adversities and understanding these things called ACEs, aka adverse childhood experiences. I'm going to be basically promoting this anytime that I can, because understanding ACEs helps you understand why people behave the way they do, why people cheat, why people steal, why people do drugs. I mean, like it's infinite. It's infinite in my mind how much ACEs are connected to everything that we do. And the only reason why it got this fancy name, ACEs, in the late 90s is because people started making connections, putting two and two together based on what was happening in people's childhoods and how they were functioning as adults. A light bulb went off as he was doing this interview with somebody on a totally different topic, which happened to be none other one of our current pandemics, which is called obesity. Current pandemic. He was doing a study on obesity and he fell into this information, like he slipped on a banana, like it slipped out and he got this information. They put two and two together and all of a sudden it took off like a rocket. And this is why I say, do you, boo? Some of those studies have branched off into other people doing independent studies and taking psychology, the mind, how the mind works, and depression, and it's these other experts that have now taken what the original study found out when they put two and two together, and they didn't start building onto it, and something they came up with correlated to, in adulthood, we end up forming multiple personalities or suffering from PTSD, ADHD. It's basically all kind of, some of them debilitating symptoms that several million people, 100 million people go through every year that are associated with what had happened in their childhood. Okay, ADHD, depression, all of these things cause you to be out of character. So to understand ACEs and why I say do you, boo, is because ACEs, when they're inflicted on you in childhood, those were your tender programming years. Those were the years where you were like the Metro PCS flip phone. In order for you to get to that iPhone, what number? 13, 14, 17, whatever, certain things had to happen along the way for you to go from being a flip phone baby to an iPhone 13 baby or Android, whichever one you want, right? So certain things had to happen in those critical years of your development in order for you to perform like an iPhone.
You don't get the attention that you needed as a child, as an infant. You'll be consumed by attracting attention. And now you're going to be very attractive. How many times have you passed a mirror without wondering if you're attractive enough? You're just looking for love. If you didn't get the approval that you needed as a child just for existing, just for being who you were, you'll want to be winning approval all the time. You'll be a winning personality. If you weren't valued, you want to measure up. If you weren't made to feel special just because for who you were, you might be demanding, in which case you'll run for the leadership of the Conservative Party.
And because these studies have now connected our personalities, our mental illnesses, With so many people are online talking about mental illnesses now, right? So this moment that we're in right now, with all the conversations about mental illness, all the conversations about suicide, all the celebrity stuff, right? In this moment right now, this is like us in this 2022 year putting two and two together. Just like the guys did back in the 90s, right? This is another moment where all of us are putting two and two together. And because we know this about people, society hasn't caught up, because the moment somebody goes out in the world and they are acting different, or they can't have a bad day, all of a sudden they get looked down upon. Like, you need to get your stuff in check. All of a sudden people aren't allowed to have a bad day. Especially if you're a teacher, or if you're a doctor, or you're somebody that has to help other people 5 days a week. And if you have a bad day, guess what? You're going to pass that energy on to the people you serve. And so I share that to say, long-term exposure to childhood trauma confuses the child about who they're supposed to be, what life is supposed to be like. It slows them down, and they end up stuck in, some of them, the flip phone stage. And for some of the baby boomers, they remind me of those handheld Motorola's, them big ones that they had way back in the 80s when they came out. Like, that's some of our parents right now. They still stuck, right? They still don't see the connection. They still can't see the connection. Probably won't see the connection, right? But all that to say about doing you is like, well, if you're going to tell me that because of my ACEs, there are going to be days where I don't want to fool with people. There are going to be days where I'm going to be people pleasing. I'm going to just be out of character. That's what you're telling me. And I won't be able to explain it. So I'm going to think I'm multiple personality disorder. And I ain't no doctor, but I'm just throwing that out there. So all of a sudden people start to self-diagnose or get these diagnoses because they got all these voices in their head. Guess what? Them the voices from your childhood. Them the voices from your childhood. Do you boo means sometimes you may want to get out of character and be this version of yourself because of your ACEs. That might be the girl that looked like, you know what, I'm going to the club tonight in this dress that I know is too tight. I probably shouldn't be wearing it, but I'm going to do it anyway. That conversation might have gone through your head. Sometimes you want to be that girl. But you got this inner voice telling you, no, you shouldn't do it. That's just one example, but you got these different versions of yourself that the scientific community came up with another word called the imposter syndrome, or the medical or the clinical community came up with imposter syndrome, or somebody did, but it's basically like a lot of depression and mental illness comes from people who can't figure out who they want to be. Guess why you can't figure out who you want to be? It's because of them voices from your childhood.
It has been said, and I believe this to be true. Okay, I have believed this to be true, that we are the emotional age where we were hurt worse. See, some of us are like, I'm 48, I'm grown. But how old are you emotionally? See, some of us stopped moving at 12. When our parents divorced. Some of us stopped moving at 7 when we were molested. Some of us stopped moving. And emotionally, we're unavailable. Emotionally, we're damaged. Emotionally, but we don't take account of that.
So when my husband would say, my ex-husband would say, do you or do you boo, it came across to me that he was poking fun of me switching up on him. Like I was acting like two different people. One day I'm this way, one day I'm that way. I need to make up my mind. So I kind of felt picked on whenever I would hear that. But because he was 6'7", 280, maybe 290 at any given time, I wasn't going to say nothing. All right, I'm going to let you have the last word. But now I'm telling people with ACEs who may be in this place in their life where they're not really sure who they want to be. You don't know if you want to be a teacher. You don't know if you want to be a counselor. You don't know if you want to start your own business. You got so many things going on in your head, you can't figure out, I don't know what I want to be. Guess why? Because it's the voices from your childhood. So at this moment, be whichever one of those people make you feel good on that day. Just be a good person and be nice to people. But you got to start being nice to yourself in order to be nice to people. So when somebody says, do you accept it with open arms. Thanks for your permission, right? The last thing I'm going to say before I close out, as you do you, boo, this goes for fellas too, which I should have said that 9 minutes and 28 seconds ago. Everybody, do you. Like Nike said, just do it. I'm saying, do you. There are people in Hollywood or in the entertainment industry. In the entertainment industry, all capital letters, entertainment industry, whatever that is, right? I'm going to take actors, for example. Actors are paid to be out of character. And when I say to be out of character, they're paid to get out of their normal body, the one that was before they even became a celebrity. And they're paid hundreds of thousands, millions of dollars to be somebody else. So that the company that's paying them can make money off of people like you and me who's struggling with where we want to be, who we want to be, do I want to do this? They gonna sell Tom Cruise or whoever in this movie, and now we all looking like, man, I wish I could do that. Or whatever the movie is, right? So actors are paid to be out of character. They switch characters all the time. At one point, Jamie Foxx was multiple characters when he did his show. And Martin Lawrence, we're not going to even go down that road, how many different characters he played when his show was out. And not to mention, you got Coming to America and Eddie Murphy and all of his, like, I'm gonna be everybody in my movie. So they are paid millions of dollars. That's all I'm trying to say. They pay millions of dollars to be somebody else. And then you pay to go see them. But here we are sitting in our little confused bodies because one day we want to be out of character in this way, and one day we want to be out of character in this way, and one day we might be out of character in this way. But we don't know how people are going to look at us. And you know why we think that? The voices from our childhood. So if actors can get paid for getting out of character, now I'm not saying go do no John Wick type of stuff, but just think about it. As long as you can be good to yourself, be good to people, and do good, you are on the right track. That's 3 things. I think, but when we get confused, we think that we gotta have all those other things that we see those actors and those entertainers having. They are paid to do that. They're paid to do that. And you don't need to be paid to feel different. You're going to feel different anyway. You might as well act how you feel. If you feel like you that girl that's on the stage that day, do it. If you want to get online and do you a podcast that day, do it. Who are you not to do it? I'm going to tell you why you don't do it. Yep. It's them voices from your childhood. We don't need permission to be ourselves. Whichever self that is that shows up. And I'm not advocating for bipolar disorder and trying to say those people don't have real mental issues. This conversation is not about that. But this conversation is more about how we as civilians, like the people that are not in the entertainment industry. So civilians, the army, in the military, they call us civilians because obviously we're not in uniform. So if we took on the civilian hat in comparison to the entertainment industry who get to do you all the time, right? And they get paid for it. So I'm giving people what I know to be true that has worked for me in this formula is I am no longer triggered when I hear do you. To do me means to accept who I became because of my childhood But to get out there and to do me, whichever me version shows up that day. And don't be ashamed about it. I'm going to get out there and do me. You should get out there and do you. And let go of the voices from your childhood. Do you, but be good to people. Be good to yourself. Set some boundaries and get to know yourself. Reprogram whatever version of you that you want to show up. And remember, if the roads are icy and you got to walk to the car with somebody on your arm, do you want that person in your ear telling you, don't fall, don't fall, don't fall, don't fall, you better not fall, be careful, don't fall? Or would you rather have somebody on your arm saying, you got this, don't worry, we going, we walking, I ain't even thinking about the ice, we gonna be careful. Reprogram yourself, get to know you, and bring out whatever version of you feels right. Till next time, shower thoughts.